What is up, everybody? Bobby Fi here. Sorry for the weird like camera. It's looking a little funny. I'm at my family's place, and yeah, we're at it, and let's freaking go. We got Sheets at the game, so he's gonna be he's out tonight. He's at the not the basketball game, at the Islanders game for hockey. It's a wild sports day. I mean, you got Monday Night Football, you got the start of the NCAA basketball season, and then the only full 15 gamer we're going to get from the NBA, pretty much, except for maybe the day before Thanksgiving. Anyway, what's up to Kevin and K9 and everybody else in chat? I'll go through what my takes are real quick. I really like. I'm going to be way over on all of the Lakers, basically. Westbrook and Davis, the main ones, followed by Kendrick Nunn for me. I do like Kendrick Nunn quite a bit. I think that, I mean, they just need guys who can score, and occasionally Troy Brown can do some of that for you too. So you can sort of take your pick. But I am playing 3 Lakers, which does make me want to run it back. And I've actually got the money to do it. I've got an extra 400 in my main lineup right now. I've got Scotty Barnes in there, and I could easily switch that over to Markkanen, which is probably the right overall game move to make, just because you want to try to get exposure. If you're going to have 3 guys from one side, having one on the other, and Barnes and Markkanen have basically like almost identical projections. Not to mention the one thing is that Barnes hasn't hit 50 this year. We've got 55 or more 3 times out of, maybe 4 times out of Markkanen. So maybe this is a good spot. Markkanen just put up 55 against the Lakers the other day. So that's sort of a starting point for me. And also it gives me the flexibility to play the later games. Love Darius Garland here. I think 6,900 is too cheap. And I think we know he has a massive, massive ceiling. I like him better if Reggie Jackson plays. If Reggie Jackson doesn't, he'll have to face a little bit tougher defense as a whole. The Clippers play kind of slow. But, if you get a good shooting night from Garland, you're going to have a monster night, because he's really done a good job distributing the ball. And I think you're looking at not a lock for a double-double, but a likely double-double here. And if he gets hot from downtown, you could be looking at 45, 50 plus fantasy points. So he's another one I'm plugging in along with Fred VanVleet as my main Raptor. Again, I have VanVleet and Barnes currently both in my main lineup. I think that's fine on DraftKings. On FanDuel, they're even cheaper. It's even easier to get them in. Most of the plays are pretty similar on FanDuel for me today. But these guys are just all a little bit better even over there. So I like the one of VanVleet, Barnes, and OG. I'm finding less of OG, but I kind of would like to get a little bit more of him. So maybe I'll get rid of some Barnes to try and get a little OG in my life. As far as other plays go, Hartenstein is one of the better values in the slate. I assume he'll start. If he doesn't start, you might be looking at like a Obi Toppin, but I don't think they would do that against a team with the size of Minnesota, especially Towns. So I think Hartenstein is probably going to start today. It always worries me about him getting into foul trouble, but if he doesn't, this is like a I don't know how he doesn't get 6x if he doesn't get in foul trouble. And I think there's a room for upside to go 8x on his price. I think that's completely reasonable in the realm of possibility. Want confirmation from Minnesota that Kyle Anderson is starting. And if he is, I do like Kyle Anderson as my other value guy. I'm very open to the idea of playing Taurean Prince as well. I have them rated pretty similarly. Always been a little bit of a Taurean Prince kind of fan a little bit. But I think you can do some things with these Wolves in this Knicks game. I mean, I think the Hartenstein play. I don't think Julius Randle's a reach. You might get Cam Reddish starting. I think you might want to consider that at 3.4 if that is in fact what happens. He played 36 minutes and put up 13 fantasy points the last game. My guess is he'll play a little better. Just a guess, but it's pretty much hard to put up 13 fantasy points in 36 minutes. I don't even know how he did it. But I do like that game as being, other than the Lakers. And I don't really love the Utah side. I think Clarkson and Markkanen are both good plays, but I don't think it's not like you need to do that. Some other plays that I'm coming across. So with Miami, you have some value without Hero, but I don't love the price on Jimmy, and I'm okay with Jimmy, but I don't think I want to do it. I don't love the idea of playing Lowry at the same price as Westbrook. I'd rather play Westbrook. So I'm sort of surprisingly a little bit off of Miami, which could be a mistake. But with no Hero, there is definitely going to be more shots to go around. Somebody probably gets there. Could be one of the others, the Max Stresses and the Gabe Vincent, or even a weird Duncan Robinson night. I think if you're playing a ton of lineups, you include Duncan Robinson into your player pool, but maybe 150, you get him 5 or 10 times. I think that's totally fine, but not a guy you're prioritizing for sure. I mentioned earlier, I didn't really get to them in my builds, but I think Lillard and Booker both have tremendous upside. And I just am not personally getting them as much as I would like to. I'm not playing Giannis. I think Jokic is the most likely of the spend ups I would play, but I'm probably not going to play him either. So I'm not really spending over 10K on anybody as I'm spending on Davis, Paul George, Van Vliet, sort of the middle tier guys with the other value is the way that I'm treating it today. That's what I'm doing anyway. So I also would like to get to, I don't have I think I'd like to get to a little bit more Troy Brown than I currently have, but big slate, we try to make it small. Feels sort of weird to play 3 guys from one team, but if you just think about how the Lakers offense goes when you take away like half of the possessions worth of ball handling and shots, like with Walker and LeBron, it's just really hard to not like Davis and Westbrook for me. You could always get Davis and he gets hurt or he ends up missing the game or something, which would be annoying. But you got a nice little pivot right over there to Paul George, so I'd leave a couple hundred extra. Just switch Davis over to Paul George, but then you probably want to play more Lakers, unfortunately. So it's a little tricky of one. What's up to my man Rashad? Good to see you back in here. But yeah, my early builds are. I'll just read over some percentages of guys. I have 60% Van Vliet, 60% Kendrick Nunn, 30% Scotty Barnes, 30% OG. Kyle Anderson, I have 60% of. I have 30% Taurean Prince. I actually have 35% of Obi Toppin, and it's a speculative play that I don't know if I want to do this, but I think that he's going to have a game at some point. I don't understand why they don't give him a real chance. He's a good, productive per minute player. I know some of the on-off numbers in the past weren't great, but why are you just letting this guy waste? He's a talented guy. Like I don't know. I would so I don't mind getting to a little bit of Toppin as another sort of odd value-ish play. Probably got a little bit too much of him at that moment. Other guys I'm filtering some in: Josh Giddey, Tyrese Halliburton. I've actually got a full 40% of Halliburton. Zion, run back with Halliburton. I kind of like that, but I don't like love it. I don't think these are all like smash plays. They're just guys who I have little bits of exposure to. Well, Zion is. Josh Giddey is. I only have 15%. I Harrison Barnes. I've got Harrison Barnes in a lot. I don't know why. So I'm trying to figure out a way to get rid of him, and I haven't come up with the exact solution just yet. One other thing to consider is that Koloko played like I don't want to play roulette with the centers over there. But Koloko did play 31 minutes and put up 34 fantasy points. They used his size. He had 6 blocks. I don't think you can count on that. So I don't love Koloko, but it's probably worth mentioning that he's like at least in play, albeit not the most exciting play. But he's definitely in play for what it's worth. And let's see what else we got. See who else. Let's see. Pop in questions, guys, if you got some, because I'm just trying to get some of the final builds things done, and then I'm just to be ready to have to change when I inevitably have to. But Boucher is the other guy who I'm using some of from Toronto. I do like Boucher a little bit, so we'll see. But Davis, the thing is, we say, does he really always disappoint? I mean, he's had terrible halves of every game lately. He just can't score in the second half, and they're not giving him the ball enough. They don't have a choice tonight. And by the way, even with these guys on the court, it's probably worth mentioning that Davis is averaging like 48 fantasy points a game, and he's 9,100. That's a pretty good number. And you take LeBron and Lonnie Walker off the court, Davis should have 50 in his sleep in this game, especially in this matchup. I mean, assuming the game stays close, that is an assumption, of course. But I am playing Davis. I'm not going to second guess myself on this one. Davis and Westbrook will be in almost all my big buy-in lineups. Just simple as that. And I think it's going to force me into a little bit of Kendrick Nunn and get a little game stack there with Markkanen on the other side or Clarkson. I think that's a really interesting way to go. Love the Cade idea. Direct pivot off of Van Vliet. I prefer Van Vliet for what it's worth with Noah Siakam. But I mean, it's a weak defensive team. I could certainly see there being a good justification for why wouldn't we play in a game that should stay fairly close. You could play Shea and Cade, and you can play Giddey and Cade, and I think both are really interesting options. And I do like Cade just on his own as well. I'm just not getting to enough of them. There's no other way to put it, I guess. But yeah, it would be nice to have a little bit more of him, to be honest. This Jonathan Goodwin feels very speculative for Washington, and because it's the first game, I'm going to sort of pass on that. I might have him in like one lineup or something, but it feels extremely speculative, personally. But so I like the idea of the Giddy Cade. I think I'll get some of that business going. Troy Brown Jr. Forward, blah blah blah. Troy Brown, Westbrook, and close it out with Prince here. Kyle Anderson. Okay. Anderson. So pop on in the questions, guys, and we will do our best to get to everything. For what it's worth, I think guard is the strongest position on the slate today, unless you're playing Hartenstein in all your lineups, because I think Hartenstein is an awesome play. But yeah, what I'm doing is basically I'm playing. I've got Boucher, and I just realized 15%. I didn't mention that before, and I'm down to 20% top end. It's very speculative, the top end thing, but I have a feeling this is one of these days we're going to see that. The guy I mentioned earlier in the video, in case you guys watched it, and again, just another huge shout out to Sheets, who's truly become like one of the very best all around DFS players in the world. What a day he had yesterday. I mean, at least he didn't see it, but he had the sort of the brutal third place finish in the Millionaire Maker, which is still, I mean, unbelievable. And then he ties for the showdown winner. So like, I mean, the guy is just an absolute monster right now. He's just killing it. QQ for FanDuel, Joker is 400 more. Will he be lower owned versus AD? Will he be lower owned than AD? Yeah, I can't see why he wouldn't be. There is a chance that people just have this feeling about AD that let me just see what I have to double check AD's price. I mean, I hate the FanDuel slate. I hate that they're not putting out like big tournaments when we have these kind of slates. Actually, I don't think over there. I think Jokic will be higher owned than AD on FanDuel. And I'm not sure that's right. I think that you with the 1,700 discount, I think that I would be. Oh no, he's only 400 more than. Oh god, and of course he's going to be. Yeah, Jokic on FanDuel is a whole different story. It's just, I think on FanDuel I would be making sure to try to get Jokic in. In fact, I would probably be willing to take some weird shots and maybe consider like a Jokic, Luka, and Giannis, and I think it might be feasible. I don't know. I have to double check that, but you can get to these guys, and there are some values out there. The problem is you want one of the guys from Toronto, you want one of the Lakers, at least. But there's going to be some more value than even what we have right now, and we still don't know what's happening with Embiid, so that would be nice to know. But Kyle Anderson at 3,600 over there, and Taurean Prince both 3,600. Hartenstein, power forward eligible, awesome play. Obviously Westbrook, is too cheap for the situation. Even guys like Jalen Suggs, I think, are solid. Caleb Martin is another value guy. Not the most fun value right now, but guys who we could certainly plug in and then hope for some more things to open up later, which is definitely possible to happen. 10-3 for AD. Yeah, that's the 10-3 for AD is fine, but 10-7 for Jokic is kind of a joke. I have my sneaky Jamal Murray call out tonight, so I will have to force him into a lineup with everything else at guard being so strong. It's really hard for me to get to him. But I'm just telling you guys right now, I would bet you in the next 2 or 3 games that Jamal Murray has one of the 7 3-pointer, 30 some odd real life points, 45, 50 plus fantasy, maybe even higher. I really think that he's starting to get more comfortable and he looks more himself by the game. So look out for that as well. I'm not getting to Banchero, but I have no problem with it. That's sort of how I feel about a lot of plays in this slate. Love Paolo's game, just really awesome. Sometimes hard for these young guys to go back to back with their, he had his best game of his career in the last game. Hard to do back to back. But I playing Banchero. He's just awesome, man. I mean, if there was ever a time where like people were questioning, like it's just like, what is his downside? Like he's an all-star for the rest of his life is his downside, in my opinion. He's so freaking good. I just don't, and his upside is Jason Tatum. Maybe, I don't want to say better, but like maybe what Tatum hasn't even gotten to yet, but like we'll get there. I don't know. I just really like Banchero's game. He reminds me a lot. Like there's a lot of his skill sets that are similar to me to Tatum's, and I think once he gets to get the consistent outside shot down, he's just going to be really, really hard to contend with. And some of these horrible teams, it's pretty cool in the NBA these days because everybody has something to be excited about. Everybody's got something on their team. And even the teams that have the least to be excited about are winning basketball games like Utah and San Antonio. So pretty much feels good to be an NBA fan of any team except for the Lakers at this moment. That's the only one I wouldn't want to be a fan of, and unfortunately, that's my team. So that's where I'm at. But anyway, pop in any more questions, guys. I'll stick with you for a few more minutes and see if there's anything else that comes up. But as of right now, I'm rolling with this. If Embiid is out, we have to go back to those guys. Sorry about that. Another COVID-y friend. I think Clay is fine. I don't like him as much on FanDuel. He's not a player who his game lends itself nearly as well to FanDuel as it does to DraftKings. He's going to basically get there by threes, which you get the bonus on DraftKings. He'll have some turnovers, and he doesn't get many blocks or steals. So I am not playing. I would not be prioritizing him on FanDuel, but I think he's fine. That's the way I would put Clay. I'm certainly not trying to get out of my way to get him. The FanDuel pricing, you got to remember it's a little bit of a trap. We all think that these plays are really good plays and because they look cheaper and stuff like that. The truth is, guys like Luka are going to have they're better DraftKings players. He's still obviously Luka, so he can put up 1 million points, and he's actually got his up to steal game this year. But Giannis is the only one. Like I would rather play Giannis on FanDuel than the other guys for the most part, because if any game stays close, you got a chance for like 8 blocks and steals, which can sort of like win you help you slate. But guys like Clay, who are just shooters and things like that, or Kendrick Nunn tonight, they're just not good plays on FanDuel compared to DraftKings. Not nearly as good of plays, I should say. Yeah. So it's pretty easy to get everybody in on FanDuel. So I think, like I said, Clay, fine. I wouldn't do it personally. I prefer different builds. DeJounte Murray's still 9K over there too. And for a guy who can actually get there with stocks, had him the other night when he was 8,700. He put up 69, comes back the next night, puts up 57. This guy is really good, and he's 9K. There's a lot of good plays in that 9K-ish range on FanDuel. Damian Lillard will stand out as a price point play at 8,500. But I just want to remind everybody, he's another one that he doesn't get steals and blocks, and he makes threes. And he doesn't get a ton of assists and rebounds anymore either, by the way. Although that might be upped a little bit tonight because of no Simons. But these guys who look like better plays on FanDuel, it's really not that they're as much better as we think they are. They're not necessarily as good as we think they are, because they don't do some of the things that lend itself to FanDuel scoring. Whereas a guy like Scotty Barnes or OG Anunoby, especially OG, he can like win you a whole slate on FanDuel. Like he can put up 60 because I've seen him before. He's done it for me. He can get 10 stocks. Just try and stay away from that. Not trying to stay away, but I wouldn't be trying to target the Clay range. Where on DraftKings, I kind of like the idea of a little bit of playing Clay a little bit better because of the 3-point bonus and all that stuff. DeMar DeRozan, another one who always looks underpriced on FanDuel. He can get there on FanDuel too, don't get me wrong, but not a huge shot blocker, not a ton of steals. He gets a reasonable number of steals, but nothing special. So his price always looks a little better on FanDuel. But it's not as much better as it might look. Brandon Ingram, another one of those guys who's underpriced on FanDuel probably. If even if everybody plays, which I think they are going to as of right now, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, we just got Anthony Simons upgrade. I didn't see that. I must have missed that a little bit earlier. Anthony Simons upgraded, which just I wasn't very interested in Portland as it was in the individual plays, but it just makes me a little bit less interested in all of them. Yeah, pretty much where I'm at. Let's see anything else that's different. Barton. No, I don't. What is his price? I just think we've seen Will Barton play with literally nobody else and sometimes still not get there. And like, he's still behind the depth chart on behind a lot of these guys. He's fine. 4,400 is a reasonable price. It's a good matchup. First game, so it's kind of a terrible, thing to waste a guy on the first game. But I think I would rather play Monty Morris, to be honest with you, than Will Barton. He's a little more expensive on FanDuel though. He's 5,700 on DraftKings. He's a much better play, but the Barton thing, sure. If you want to do it, it's okay. I don't love it. I just think there's better plays. I don't really think you need to go there, but yeah, there's always a chance, he gets hot off the bench or something. Okay. All right. Pop in your questions, and I'm going to finish building if you guys are ready to go. And I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm gonna sacrifice the Scotty Barnes play. Use the Laker run back here with the Markkanen, get a full on stack over there. It feels pretty good, I have to say, to have that the 3-man Lakers with the one Markkanen. I actually think that you could consider like Troy Brown ahead of Taurean Prince and Kyle Anderson, but then I feel like I'm using a little too much of the Laker game. So I've kind of been struggling with that one off and on for most of the day. Just what I want to do with that game, because I kind of do want to just stack it up. Like, I don't know. Feel like it could really get there. Can Sheets go 3 for 3 and crush it tonight too? If he does, it'll be really amazing because he's doing it from a hockey game on the biggest NBA slate of the year. So if he's able to somehow win tonight, oh boy, just give him his flowers, man. That guy's amazing. Caruso would be only if Levine is out. Levine didn't play yesterday. I have nothing. I totally assume he's going to be in. I don't really know why he's questionable. That's the only thing that's kind of weirding me out. He just doesn't play the back-to-backs because of his injury management. There's no reason why he shouldn't play tonight. But I have no interest in Caruso. I have no interest in Caruso if Levine plays. If he doesn't, he stands out as being just another fine play. I don't know if he's going to have a near, what did he have? The 11 assists, 11 rebounds, 4 points yesterday, something like that. That's funny, Sam. Yeah, what I mean, that was incredible. He really did almost have it all. What a great day he had there. That was amazing. You can do Joker, Doncic, and Greek Freak on FanDuel. Yeah, you can do it. I think that it's not the worst idea. Look, you get 210 out of those guys. That's totally possible. And then your other guys just do their job. That's it. I think it's totally reasonable. I just think there's a lot of other ways to build that I'm personally finding more middling things, but on FanDuel, those prices are pretty tempting, and you can get them in. Like, you have how much left over. You got Luka, Jokic. Okay, let's see. So you've got 43-17 left. Yeah, you could do that. You could definitely do worse than that. You end up having to play Kyle Anderson or Taurean Prince. I like still getting the Hartenstein value. Looking at it from that perspective, if you're doing that kind of a build, I think I prefer Caleb Martin over Barton, but I think you could include Barton in the mix. I'm still curious to see what happens with Jabari Smith tonight. If he's out, that could open up something. You could reach on Jonathan Goodwin, which I think is definitely a reach. Saberson likes him a lot better than anybody else does. You can't play Koloko if you're playing the other one, but I think he's another reach that you could use for value. And for what it's worth, I think Draymond, this could be a sneaky Draymond game. I don't know how much I would actually use him, but if I was playing more FanDuel, I think I would probably get to some of them. He's 5,800. You play him with Hartenstein or instead of, he hasn't had that monster game, but we know he's still got it in him. You have Sacramento, who can be sloppy at times. Just seems like a spot where maybe getting a little bit of Draymond if you're multi-entering is not a bad idea. Let's see. It looks like we don't have. Let's see. Do I like Turner with his block upside at FanDuel? Then are you paying up at center? I'm not playing on FanDuel today because I think the tournaments suck. But if I was playing FanDuel, I would most likely have Jokic in as my center. And then if I wasn't, I love as I started the show off with him at the beginning of the day, Miles Turner is expensive for FanDuel for his pricing because of the block steal upside that he has. He never gets played on these slates, and he just has tremendous upside for that. And not the worst team in the world for him to be going against in New Orleans in that capacity. So I don't mind Turner, but I certainly wouldn't be trying to go out of my way to play him. I just think he's fine. If anybody was to sit for New Orleans, I would play Joval actually in that same game. I liked Nurkic. I liked Nurkic before when I thought we were going to have no Simons and possibly no Lillard. I like him a little less now. I like Porzingis in the first game. He's the one first game guy I would play on FanDuel. Yeah, that's pretty much my FanDuel thoughts. All right. Yeah, we talked about Banchero already. I think I don't think I would not be playing Banchero off of a ceiling game in overtime where he put up his best game of his life. I think he's totally fine. I just am not getting to him. I prefer other players. Simple as that. There's nothing wrong with his price tag. They have Turner power forward eligible on FanDuel now. Is that right? Based on what I'm seeing. Yeah, he is. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, I take a swipe at Turner. If you're playing 10 lineups, get him in one of them. That's what I would say. I don't think I want to go much more than that, but I do like that. Avdia, these plays, look, man, we've seen this. We know the story with the Avdia thing. If he gets there, great. It just happened to happen. You know what I mean? We see the same thing all the time with him. Just because there's no Bradley Beal doesn't mean it's going to be the Denny Avdia show. Doesn't really have any usage that's really exciting. Had more in the last game that he played, was 2 for 12 in that one. Did have 10 rebounds. No, I would not be playing Avdia anywhere. There's just so many other value plays that I would rather gamble on that, Avdia as a part of a 9-man rotation, maybe 10, just not going to do it. Yeah, so that's pretty much Wiggins at 7K. I just don't. If I looked at this slate 100 times, if Wiggins gets there, so be it. I would never ever be playing Andrew Wiggins on this thing. I don't think 7K is like some sort of magical price for him either. Like that's pretty much where he's always at. He's basically had 2 games, and they were both at the beginning of the year that you would take. You want over 40, and one of those was against Sacramento for what it's worth. So I guess you can hang your head on that. But he, in that game, he had 3 steals and 2 blocks. It's, I wouldn't guarantee that he ends up with any of those things tonight. So I don't know if there's a world I'd play Wiggins unless I just sort of happen to end up on him. Like, why are we playing Wiggins over Anunoby? Why are we playing Wiggins over Scotty Barnes? Why are we playing Wiggins when DeMar DeRozan is 900 more expensive and has a 65 ceiling where we haven't seen 42 out of Wiggins at the most? I like Wiggins I think in real life he's better. If any of those guys, if we get multiple of those guys sitting sometime, I would look at Wiggins, but I don't think that this is a spot you should be trying to get to him. If he's there, he's fine. There's no way to answer that one, Jim. It's completely based on whether KPJ plays or not, and we're probably not going to have that information. They usually tend to play these guys, but it's your guess on this one. I mean, I'm not giving any giant boost. And by the way, even if he's out with all the other stuff on the slate, at least we'll know it early. I'm more interested if Jabari Smith is out, to be honest with you. And it would be just to maybe get a little bit of Tari Eason, who I believe in. But they have a lot of bodies they can use. They'll throw Garrison Matthews out there for 15 minutes. They'll throw Garuba out there for, I don't know, 10 to 20 minutes. He played 24 in the last game. They'll play, 10 to 20 of Dasheen Nix. Just nobody really excites me for them. The obvious one is Jalen Green, but I don't think it's like that automatic smash play. Jalen Green is a heat check guy who's put up only 40 once this season. And I wouldn't be going out of my way to it. I do like Şengün for what it's worth. I think Şengün is always a great play. Just always has that, that big ceiling, is an incredible point per minute guy. So, if you get the minutes, you're in pretty good shape almost all the time there. All right. How do I feel about the staggered times? This is the first time the NBA is doing. I like what they're doing about it being. I think when voting is coming into play, regardless of what side you're on, I do think that making it easier for people to go out and vote anyway. So canceling sports for the day or canceling basketball for the day, I think it's a really nice thing. I think it's a really good thing, and I think it sends the right message. I'm a fan of them doing it. The staggered times it's certainly interesting. Kind of like it. If I was playing 150 lineups, I would like it. It would stress me out, but I think there's definitely edge to be gained by going every 15 minutes and seeing what happens and seeing who's in and out and trying to speculate. But as of right now, we're just going to have to wait. And I guess I kind of do like it because I have, 5 guys from the last 2 games in my lineups. So yeah, I think it's kind of fun for DFS. You just got to be glued to your computer. It's pretty much the only problem. All right, what else do we have? I don't think we've got anything else. So, guys, I'm going to say good luck tonight. Let's crush it. And hopefully we'll see you guys at the top of the leaderboard.